Wild Blue Yonder, David Much.
Contest chair. Judges, members and guests. My seat is in the upright position. Window shade all the way up. Here we are now on the tarmac, and there's a slight pause. Suddenly, the sound of a whirring engine revving up, and we're catapulted back in our seat, 0 to 100 kilometres per hour in little or no time. Oh, this feeling is nuts. Now I finally know how a Formula One driver feels. From here, there's only one way we can go. Up. The ground pushes away from us as the cars turn to little ants, houses like little Lego bricks. Yeah, this flying thing is pretty good. I'm going to have to make sure that I keep doing this as many times as I can. That was then. That was when I was just a kid on his first plane trip. Now back then, for me, it became love at first flight. And I was a lucky boy. I got to go a few more times after that. And I was always looking forward to the plane trip as much as I was the destination. And and I loved it so much that I even wanted to become a pilot. But how does someone go with having so much love and passion for something to developing an irrational, uncontrollable fear of it? I mean, I guess after all, we are human. And we're all subject to having fears. And to the people around me, my fear was seen as being a little bit silly. I was surrounded by the constant comments of, what are you worried about? There's nothing to worry about with flying. It's safe. Look how safe it is. But then again, there are people that have been known to have a fear, would you believe, of chopsticks. True story. Now to me, that does seem a little bit irrational and a bit silly. But then again, these people can't seem to get over that fear. So, was I any different to them? But I can pinpoint to you exactly when this fear started. On a trip that I took with a partner who had a very nervous fear of flying as herself. And it would have seemed that her fear manifested themselves onto me. Now, I was fine on the way over there, but somewhere between the holiday and boarding the plane for the return trip, I had this new thing flying around my head. And I had to deal with it for the next 8 hours while I was trapped in the very thing that I was now afraid of. And I can tell you that 8 hours of my life was just horrendous. I was praying, please let this plane land okay. Please. And the whole time the plane was turbulent the whole way back home. Needless to say, we got safe okay. But it didn't stop there. My fear then just started growing. And I tried to come up with all these ways of dealing with it. I forced myself to go on flights for work. But that just seemed to make things worse. It got me to the point where I was at the airport and I was adamant there was no way I'm getting on that plane. And being so close to actually just hiring a rental car and driving home instead. Even though I knew that was crazy. And from there, I did finally get on the plane. But when I landed, I had this overwhelming fear of joy. And I promised myself then, there is no way I'm putting myself through that stress again. There is no way I'm ever getting on a plane ever again. And even though I didn't, my fear still wouldn't leave me alone. Because now I was getting stressful when my friends and family would fly as well. I had a time when I had a girlfriend flying back from overseas. I was up all night on the internet, every 30 minutes checking to make sure the plane was still in the air. And then the story becomes plain ridiculous. Because I got this job working for one of the airlines. And what was one of the perks of this job? Free flights. And I thought, surely this is an opportunity or a sign for me to get over it. So I booked myself on a 1 hour trip, easy one to Sydney. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. I cancelled, I booked out and drove instead. But this story does have a happy ending. Now, I cannot tell you how it happened, but I finally got on a plane again after 10 years of having a fear of it. And I had a little bit of help. An invitation from a friend to go to Thailand, somewhere I've been wanting to go for years. And I knew, though, in my head that there was no logic, there was no reason why I shouldn't go on the plane. Just this fear stopping me from doing it. So finally, I jumped into the deep end again. I got on that plane. I told myself the whole time that it was going to be okay and I'll get there. And I did. And since that first flight, I've now taken another 36 of them, visited 8 countries and 3 domestic locations. So finally, I'm back to where I all started again. Happy. Looking forward to taking plane trips again. And it might seem that I'm cured, but in fact, every time I get on a plane, I still have that nervy feeling. But at least I can get myself through it and get myself the situation. And finally, when the plane does land, the rewards are worth it. So fear can be devastating in your life and stop you from reaching your dreams. I hope that if any of you carry a fear as well, that you can accomplish it and overcome it as I have done. Give yourself clearance to take off, free from your fears, and let yourself float into the wild, blue yonder.